Hello, hello, hello. Are you there, Amy?
Hey, I'm here. Do I sound okay? Is everything working?
You sound okay. Do I sound okay?
Yeah, yeah, you sound great.
So I tried a different approach this time. I actually hit the go live button before we started talking.
Oh,
So yeah, when you're your own producer, you have a tendency to not you have everything else on your mind except for that stuff, right?
yeah, yeah.
Welcome, everybody. It's a beautiful Friday afternoon. I just went outside for a walk. It's a little hot and muggy out there, but we are so blessed to be here today. And Amy, I'm super excited to get to know you. So,
Yeah, likewise, likewise.
yes.
I
So,
think we probably have a lot in common.
are we friends? We're friends on Facebook,
We
aren't
are
we?
friends.
How did we become friends?
I don't know, but we're friends. Yeah.
So I've been stalking you and seeing you. And when I started this podcast, the original intention was to just create community and kind of bring us all together again after the pandemic. This year, I think we're all really starting to put ourselves back out there again, right? Um,
Yeah, it seems that way. It seems like everybody is ready to reconnect and get back out there and do all the things. And there's so much to do.
there
It's,
is.
there's so much going on and it's great. It's also hard to decide.
It is very hard to decide. And that is part of the reason why I also wanted to do this was because one of the things that was coming to mind for me is when we're taking care of ourselves, um, doing yoga and doing things with people that you don't know, right, can be very vulnerable, you know?
Absolutely.
So promoting people like you so that other people out there can find people that they connect with, that they can find their own community with, is so helpful to allow people to step into those doors easier, right? So we
Yeah.
took down one barrier as far as allowing people to get to know you, and then once they kind of know what your personality is like, they might feel more comfortable walking into a class with you because now they already kind of know you, right?
Right. And, I'm glad you're talking a lot about building community because that is one of the things that I'm passionate about. One of my goals is building a yoga community, especially for the people who might not necessarily feel like they belong in some yoga spaces. So you have some people who feel uncomfortable walking into a studio or a class. Maybe they don't look like everyone else there. Maybe they feel like their body is not good enough, or the people just look different from them and have different abilities from them. So it's really important to me to create a safe, inclusive space for everyone, for all of those people who feel like they may not fit that typical yoga person that they see on Instagram.
I love that. And I also love that because when I saw some of your promotions or different things like that, they're beautiful. And I love that you're
Thank
even just
you.
kind of wearing a dress. Like you
Just me.
yeah, like you just like, hey, I'm coming from work, I'm gonna do my yoga type of feel, right? But very comfortable and very soothing type of feel to it as well. Not everybody is able to just like to do all the yoga gear and stuff like that. I don't know. For some reason, it just
So,
really drew me in. Yeah.
yeah, I think, for me, this is my life. I've been practicing yoga since I was in college. I've been doing this a long time to different degrees, and it's part of my life. It's part of who I am. And it's not a trend to me, it's my lifestyle. And I think that in this day and age where you have a lot of people seeing social media, it's very easy to think that yoga looks a certain way.
Right.
And I'm just out here being myself. I'm just, all I can be is me. And hopefully that resonates with some people, and my students who I resonate with find me and start coming to my classes, and we can share things and learn together and practice together. And if, you don't resonate with me and you're interested in yoga, I hope you find, that teacher. There's a lot of qualified teachers out here, that teacher who resonates with you, and you go and you learn, from that person. So I think there's a space for all of us here.
Mhm.
And I think that, you may have to try a few teachers to find your place.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I call you guys are my series of traveling yogis.
Yeah.
Um, because I've been connecting with a lot of different yoga teachers here in Erie, right? And we all don't have our own little home. Some of I'm not saying me, but you guys
Right.
kind of travel around to different places and stuff. Some of you guys have full-time jobs. Some of you guys do this only during different seasons. And that kind of brings us to you, Amy, because as we started to dive a little bit deeper, I learned you are a woman of many talents. So yeah, I
I
wanted to
suppose. I yeah.
a
I
little,
do, yeah, I do a lot of things.
yeah, tell us a little bit about your background. Are you even from Erie? What, tell us a little bit about Amy,
Okay.
backstory,
So
Amy.
I am from Erie. I was born and raised in Erie. Um, I went away to college like a lot of people do, and I started practicing yoga in college.
Okay.
It was Kripalu yoga, and I look back now, and the teacher that I had at the time was really a great teacher. I didn't appreciate how good my first yoga experience was until later. As a teacher, I look back at all the things that she put into teaching us. So that sparked my love of yoga. And I came back to Erie. I worked in media for a while. I was in radio and television production, moved on to marketing and communications for different companies. And eventually, I think I was working at Erie Insurance at the time. I decided to move to Asheville, North Carolina for a more holistic lifestyle and a larger yoga community. At the time, there was only one yoga teacher in Erie, so that I knew of. Maybe there were more. So moving there helped me to kind of grow my practice and study and learn a lot of different types of yoga, practice a lot of different types of yoga. I got my certification in 2008. I've been teaching ever since. So I've taught chair yoga. I've taught children and teenagers. That's where I started was seniors, children, and teenagers.
Okay.
And I've kind of moved from there, and I've come back,
When did you
and
come back to Erie?
I've been back probably about 15 years. Well, no, not quite that long. Probably 13 years now, I think.
Okay. And when you came back to Erie, did you go straight into teaching, or did you start to explore what was being offered in Erie at that time? Because things obviously had evolved since you had been gone, right?
Yeah, things had evolved, but not as much as they have, in the past maybe 5 years.
Mm,
When I first came back, I was substituting for a local yoga teacher, and just kind of helping him out when he needed to go away, and subbing for him. But I didn't really have a home. I ran into Terry Seth, who is the
yes,
owner of Schoolhouse Yoga at
yes.
the Erie Art Museum. And she said, "Oh, I'd love to have you here." And I didn't really have a yoga home at that point. So we started talking, and I began teaching there. And then just started, like you said, the traveling yogi, going around and teaching different places. And
Okay.
I do want to say something about that. I think that, by teaching in different places, it's really important, because there are a lot of people out there who aren't going to feel comfortable walking into a yoga studio.
Mhm.
And so I like to meet people where they're at. I like to be able to show people that maybe, this yoga isn't like the yoga you may have experienced before.
Mhm.
So that's why I do those things. And that's why you'll find me at the Cat Cafe sometimes teaching yoga, because it's a nice opportunity to meet people who may not necessarily go to yoga otherwise.
Well, and like you said, again, it's that breaking down the barriers. To get a client to walk through your door is one of the hardest things to do, right? I mean, that's inviting somebody into your home. And that there's a lot of energy that goes on with that. So yeah, meeting them where they're at. Hey, I'll come to you,
Right.
in an environment that you're comfortable with. And let's make this, you know, adaptable to your style. And yeah, I love that. I also love that your your focus is more of a slow, mindful yoga. It, more going into the body. You had mentioned the subtle yoga, and I love that because I myself had gone to a few yoga studios back in the day, and I could not keep up. I was like just into my pose, and I look over and everybody's into the next pose, and I'm like, but I just got here. I wanted to
Yeah.
enjoy it. You know what I mean? And so
Right.
that's more my style of yoga. So when you were telling me that, I was like, ooh, I may have found my lady. Uh,
Yeah.
so tell us a little bit more why you gravitate to that and your
Well,
philosophy
yeah.
behind
So, I think it's very American. We want to do everything faster, harder, better. We're always go, go, go. Um, Slow mindful yoga, which is the class that I'm currently teaching, the name of it, it's really just yoga. It's yoga. It's adaptable to people's bodies. It's important to me that it is sustainable for a lifetime. Your yoga practice should grow and change as you grow and change, as your abilities grow and change. Um, and and I think that we need that balance. I love to work out. I've gone through times in my life where fitness was really important to me, and I was lifting weights and running and doing all those things, and those things are great and we need those, but also the balance. So my workout doesn't come from my yoga. My yoga is my work in. My yoga is my lifestyle. It is the balance, the other part.
it. Mhm. The connection, I think, with your own body, right? Taking it inwards. Um,
Yeah, and we're very disconnected from our bodies. So something that I talk to my students about a lot is, you know, um, noticing how you feel. You know, the last thing I want to see in one of my classes is a competitive environment where people are looking at each other. My students are very focused on themselves, and they come in, and sometimes we'll have our eyes closed when we're practicing, and we're just getting in tune with, how does this feel? How does my body feel? What can I do to find a little more ease here? And everyone looks different. We're not all in perfect alignment. We're making adjustments to fit our own personal bodies. And you can do that when you go slowly.
do you find with different groups of people, you have to you have to do you have to, I don't want to say forcefully slow them down, but do you read the room in a way where people come in from work or whatever and they have that anxiety and they're rushing and they're running late or whatever, and do you just like you're the one that's got to control the energy of that class, right? So you kind
Right.
of
Yeah.
you have to play with that energy, like, hey, I'm feeling your anxiety, let's bring that down, let's, right? So that's
Yeah.
taming that energy, right?
Right. And, yeah, energy is a really important part of being able to teach and lead a group. Being able to read the room and knowing that, when I come in for the day, this happened to me just yesterday. My plan that I have for the class may not be what we're going to be doing and what everybody needs. And depending on what students I have in the class and, do I have a bunch of new students tonight, or, what's going on in the class and how people are feeling, I may change my whole plan, right there on the spot. And so I think being adaptable is important, knowing what people need, because that's why I'm there. I'm there to, help my students in their practice. I'm not there to perform for them or to, run through a script. So I'm always looking and asking my students, how do you feel today? What do you feel like you need today? What would you like us to do today? What are you feeling today? And, we'll make adjustments as we go based on that.
I love that. I love that. Let's see here. Oh, you know what I enjoyed reading about you too, is that you had said in some of the classes that you do some aromatherapy, you do the acupressure, different things like that. Tell us about those unique elements that you put into your classes that other people might be interested in.
And that goes along with, what we're talking about, with getting people to be able to slow down, get into their bodies, be in the present moment. When you take some essential oil and rub it into your hands and just, take a deep breath, you're instantly in the moment. You're smelling that good smell. You're calm, you're breathing, you're not thinking about what you're making for dinner or the next thing you have to do. You're fully in the moment. And so using some of these practices that have a lot of traditional benefits, like the self-massage and using acupressure points and things like that, you're getting a lot of different benefits from those, but you're also really getting in tune with your body and getting into the present moment. I've had students who have felt swollen lymph nodes while we were doing self-massage, or who have noticed their kidneys were a little tender, different things like that they are starting to be aware of their body and can address. And I think that's really important. We're not just going through the motions,
Yeah, it's so amazing how, as a massage therapist myself, I'm just going to say, I love touching myself, like exploring, finding things. And it's amazing how so many people out there just don't, you know what I mean? And they've never, like you said, they'll start feeling around. They're like, oh, what is that? What is that? And I'm like, well, that's just muscle. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, so I love that you incorporate that, because I think it's so important for us to connect with our physical bodies. It's just, there's an intimacy in that, right?
Right. And I should probably tell you, so my yoga teacher started as a massage therapist years and years ago.
Okay.
So I think that that sort of became instilled in me as I learned through her. And then I also go to an acupuncturist who likes to teach everyone little acupressure points and things. And I think, we're all learning from each other. We're all adding these things in, and hopefully it's helping people who have a hard time with getting in touch with their bodies, just doing these little things. And we don't do it every class, it's right. When we need it. But when we really need to slow down and tune into ourselves, it's one method that we can use.
I love it. I love it. That's what really drew me to you.
Thanks.
And do you do guided meditations and things like that as well? I had read somewhere about that too.
Yeah. So, my thing is I teach traditional yoga, and I talk to my students a lot about thinking of it like a salad. If you're just practicing asana, you're having the lettuce, and maybe it's a bad analogy, but people seem to get it. And you're adding in, the 8 limbs of yoga, yamas and niyamas. You're adding in the tomatoes and the dressing and all of, all of those things by doing your breathing practices and, doing your meditation and all of those things. And meditation is really the most important part of yoga. Asana was never intended to be the one only thing. It was one part and really not the most important part. So I teach meditation. I find that it's easier for people who don't regularly meditate to start off with a little bit of guidance. And so we do that when I do that in my classes. And I'll teach Yoga Nidra occasionally as a workshop. We'll do Yoga Nidra workshops a few times a year to help with that. But I also teach meditation privately with students who want to go a little bit deeper and learn a little bit more. I'm really big on learning how to actually meditate by yourself, not using an app, just being able to sit with yourself and your mind. So
it's funny how that brings up anxiety, like even just the thought of that. Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah. And I do this stuff, you know what I mean? But it's still like sometimes that initial thought of that, like just automatically just, I don't want to.
I think that people have this image in their head of, the yogi or the Buddha sitting under the tree in complete, zen with nothing going on in their minds. And I think that makes it feel very unattainable. When you start meditating, if you can even sit for, just 3 to 5 minutes, and I like to teach mantra. So if you're repeating mantras, it gives your brain something to do. So your mind has something to focus on, something, to think about, or mudras with the hands. So you have something that you're thinking about, something that you're doing. You're not actually thinking nothing.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of misconceptions as to what, and then there's even, well, and yoga itself is moving meditation, right? So there's different forms of meditation. And I think a lot of it is just being and realizing where you're at in the moment, right? Is the basis of it, I guess, would be.
Yeah, I think, being present is a big part of it, being able to sit with yourself. We have a hard time being able to just sit and, even just walking through nature, sitting outside, being able to just sit, I think is really important for stress in today's world.
Yeah. Going back, you had touched on a few things, and I was curious on how you work with people. So I know you do, you're at the Schoolhouse Yoga. You also, you said the Cat Cafe. I love Barista Cafe. You were doing something at the zoo. Am I correct?
I am. That's only for the summer. We're doing Movement Mondays. So I'll be there 2 Mondays in August.
I love that. So are you an animal lover?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
I'm actually surprised one of mine hasn't made an appearance during.
Do you have kitties or dogs?
I have a dog and 2 cats.
What kind of dog?
She's an Australian Shepherd and I think probably a Border Collie mix.
Oh, nice. All right. So I'm a avid dog lover, and so the more you get to know me, I'm all about dogs. So, and I have a cat too, but
she's pretty special.
Yeah. There's in talking about being in the moment, they really, really have just a way of bringing you back down to earth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've had her for about a year now, and I would say she's changed my life quite a bit.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. I love it. So do you do one-on-ones?
I do. So I'm in a lot of different places right now. Right now I'm teaching at Paca Movement Center on Wednesdays. And in the summer, we like to be outside if we can. So we go up on the roof at Paca Movement Center, or we're in the studio, depending on the weather. And that's Wednesday nights. And then Thursdays, I'm at the Schoolhouse Yoga, which is air conditioned, nice
Okay.
studio in the Space to Create at St. Mary's. Beautiful studio. And then I'm also occasionally at Parista on Saturdays. And then you mentioned the zoo Mondays. So that one is a seasonal thing.
Okay. Now,
And things will change, because it's summer. There's a lot going on. My schedule, I always have it posted on my Facebook, but it'll change again for fall and winter when people are getting back into their routines and want to practice a little bit more inside.
Do you have a business Facebook page, or is it just your personal page?
I
Or
don't currently, but it's to come.
okay. All right. And so, but if people want to find you, they can definitely go to the Schoolhouse Yoga to maybe connect with you there first and then take it from there.
Right. Yeah. They can, they can connect with me there. They can connect with me on my page. You don't have to send me a friend request or anything. All of my information about yoga is public on my page.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
you can just go take a look at it and find my schedule and, find my website there.
Perfect. So when the pandemic hit, you were teaching then. Did you end up going online and pivoting and doing all that as well? And do you still do that if you did?
I didn't do that. And there was a lot of talk about it. We made our class sizes, I'm trying to think back, a lot smaller. And so, we kind of were taking different steps to protect people. And there was a point when the studios were all closed. I kept in touch with my students and encouraged home practice during that time. But I wasn't doing the Zoom thing. And I like that connection with my students. I like to be able to be in touch with their energy, feel their energy, and go off of that and make those personal connections. So for me, I had a hard time with the Zoom. I'm getting a little more comfortable with the technology now, but at that time it was a little bit tough for me.
That's okay. I love that because I love people who don't do what everybody else is doing. So
yeah, that's definitely me. So
that might be what's drawn me to you. So let's see here. So where do you see yourself? Do you ever see yourself getting your own little studio at all? Now I know you work full time. You also work full time. You're at SafeNet? Is that correct?
So yeah, I work full time for SafeNet. I handle some outreach, some marketing, and fundraising for SafeNet, which is also part of yoga. Doing good works for the community is part of yoga. Selfless service. So I do work there. I also write for the Erie Reader. Which is a lot of fun. It's probably how you feel about doing this podcast. I get to meet a lot of people and connect with different people writing features for them. So that's another thing I'm doing. And, I do plan on having some things coming up next year, some different changes to my schedule. Maybe you'll see me at one place for a little while. We'll see.
We'll see.
I don't want to talk about it too much yet.
That's all right. We'll just say you're not going anywhere. That's for damn sure.
I'm not going anywhere. I will probably be expanding my classes next year. Yeah.
Wonderful. That is very good to hear. Amy, can you tell me any stories about any students that you've had in the past years where there was just a transformation or something that occurred that just kind of stood out for you? Anything that you can think of that you wanted to share that way? I didn't mean to throw that at you.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have stories that stand out that you're like, this lady came to me, she was a total bitch, and then by the end she wasn't. I don't know.
I mean, I have a lot of stories. I have a lot of interesting things that have happened. Some of my funniest stories come from when I was in Asheville and I was teaching at the Boys and Girls Club. in Hendersonville, which, you know, these were like eighth grade girls. So that was an experience. You know, recently I've had one of my students go on to get her teacher training certificate. She's going to do yoga therapy, which I think is wonderful. And so we've kind of worked together through that process, and I've helped her, you know, finding schools, and that's been really rewarding and really nice. I think, you know, the best stories are just when I look at my classes and my students, and I see so much diversity. I had one, I'll tell you one story. I have a neighbor who I would always see walking my dog, and he's in his 70s. He's a Vietnam veteran. He recently lost his wife. And somehow through talking to him just around the neighborhood, I brought up that I was teaching yoga, and he decided he wanted to come try it.
Oh.
And so he did, and found out that his niece was also in my class. And we didn't know this. So they reconnected. They hadn't really spoken in a while. And he was hanging in there, taking classes, right along with some people who were in their 20s, you know. So stories like that, I think, are important. They're nice, you know.
That's the heart of it all, isn't it?
Yeah, it was really, really cool story. He's a cool person, and for someone to be willing to try something different that they've never done before, I think is really great, you know, at any age.
And that's just a testament to the comfort that you exude, just naturally being you know what I mean? And then for him, it's a big step for somebody to be like, you know what, I'm gonna, you know, try yoga with
Yeah.
this girl. And so that's a testament for the comfort that you allow people to feel around you. So that's wonderful.
Yeah. And you know, like I said, I I like to be for those people who feel like they're not fitting in somewhere else. You know, if you feel like you don't have that yoga body, you don't have the right yoga clothes, you know, come see me and let me change your mind on that, you know, those things are not important.
You're the
And
island of misfit toys, right?
I love that, actually. I will be that. I will be that.
Awesome. Amy, it's such a pleasure to get to know you today, to learn more about your yoga style, to know that you're not going anywhere. It'll give me some time to give you a try. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, thank you for reaching out. This has been really fun.
Yeah, don't leave. I'm going to meet you behind stage here, and I'll be with you in just a moment. All right?
All right, thanks.
Thank you. And everybody, thank you so much for tuning in today. We are going to have another traveling yogi next week. Her name is Chelsea McCade, Miracle Mind. You may have seen her down at the Dobbins Landings on Wednesdays offering free yoga classes. So we're going to find out more about her and what she has to offer everybody here in Erie. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Have a wonderful day. And if you come back to our page later on, you'll see Amy's information there, a good way to reach out to her. Thank you.